In today's session, we're going to continue on the implementation series on achieving breakthrough improvement. We're getting close to the last sessions in this series, but today we're going to talk about systematic capacity expansion. So once we are at the point where we're stable, we're delivering high reliability to our customers on short lead time, we should see sales start going up. And now we've done all the focused improvement initiatives where we opened up capacity, doing those events to implement lean techniques or Six Sigma techniques to reduce variability. And now we're going to talk about systematic capacity expansion. So this is higher level concepts. And if you think getting stable is difficult, I tell people to remain stable while sales is going up is 5 times harder. So this is the process to get systematic capacity expansion. So what we're talking about is where do we expand capacity? Where do we invest in capital equipment or capital to improve our capacity? And again, we want to tie those capacity expansions to our key performance metrics. So if the capacity expansion investment doesn't move the needle on one of the key performance metrics, it was the wrong investment. So this is today's session. So making decisions on where to invest capacity, we see sometimes the decision's made too early, sometimes made too late, or sometimes the incorrect decision is made. So how do we make sure that we make the correct decisions at the right time so that we maximize our return on investment and we can elevate our capacity in sufficient time to continue to offer short lead times to the market? So what are the implications of the timing of this decision when it relates to risk? So if we make the decision too early, what's the risk? We extend our return on investment period. So we make the investment decision, we make it early, the sales don't come, and then our investment return is less than desirable. Next is we make the decision too late. So this is actually more damaging than making it too early because lead times of the customers get extended. We start to see emergence of conflicts between sales and operations on which orders we should focus on because we have limited capacity. We can't meet all the demands of the customer. We have the threat of losing our competitive advantage that we've spent so much time developing. And then the risk of making the incorrect decision is we waste management attention on doing things that we shouldn't be doing. And then we get zero return on that investment. So what information is needed to make the proper decisions on capital investment? So those decisions need to be based on where is it necessary to invest? What's the lead time to realize the increase in capacity? When should the decision be made to approve the investment? And how much preparation can be done prior to spending any money so that we can shorten the capacity expansion lead time? So we're going to talk about these things in this session. So focusing, where is it important to invest in our capacity expansion? So first of all, of course, our capacity constraint resource, once we've squeezed everything out of that, then we need to make an investment to increase that. But also keep in mind, we want to maintain an unbalanced system. So to maintain the unbalanced system, we might have to invest in capacity in other areas to maintain that protective capacity to keep the system stable. So it's a combination of increasing our capacity constraint resource and sufficient protective capacity to maintain stability. So that's how we focus where to look to invest. So next is when is it necessary to invest in the capacity? So what we're going to do is we're going to take those resources and we're going to monitor the load on those resources where we want to focus our capital investment. And we're going to see this blue line here is the load on the resource as demand is going up. And this red line is our available capacity on that resource. So the whole model is based on the market's the constraint. We don't want the constraint to be internal, but at some point, as sales start increasing, we're going to bump up against that resource capacity. So we can make a projection on when we're going to reach that point of where we're at full load of capacity just by taking the demand over time, the historical demand increase in our load on that resource and projecting that into the future of when we're going to hit our maximum capacity. So that's the first thing we need to determine is what point will we be at full load. So next, we take that point, we say, okay, at some point, because we're delivering, we can make the product much faster than the market lead time. We establish where is the market lead time and when are we going to hit the market lead time. And so at the point where we're at full load and where the market lead time is where our point where our lead time to our customers is going to increase. So we're going to be full load on the resource. We're going to start pushing out lead time based on incoming orders. And at some point, right, we're going to reach the market lead time. So what we don't want to do is be shipping product slower than what our competitors are. So we always want to be ahead of the competitors in terms of shipping to our market lead time. And so now we have this danger zone. The danger zone is where we buffer ourselves against variability in supply and demand. And that buffer is there to protect us so that we never hit the market lead time with our delivery, and we can always stay faster than our competitors. So depending on how much variability we have in supply and demand, this danger zone will be bigger or smaller. But once we define that danger zone, now we say, okay, this point here where the capacity hits the danger zone, that's where we want to have our capacity elevation in place so that we can always offer shorter lead time than our competitors if needed. So now the next piece of information is what's the time to actually elevate that capacity? So there's a lead time to do that because we got to go out and determine like what type of equipment do we need to buy, what type of capital do we need to invest in, who's going to supply that, how long's their lead time. So we need to consider all those things. And then once we determine the lead time to elevate the capacity, this point where the period where we're going to hit the danger zone minus that capacity elevation lead time is the point where we need to take action to approve the capital investment. So you see here, we need to improve this capital investment way before we hit full capacity. So we don't wait till we hit the wall before we make the decision. Because if I make the decision here where we hit the wall at full capacity, then we're going to be out here and then we're going to be delivering later to our customers than what the market can deliver. So we don't want to have that scenario. So now we determine this point where the danger zone's met based on this projection. We back off that capacity elevation lead time, and then this is the point where we need to pull the trigger to invest in the capital. Okay, so if we want to reduce this risk of the capacity elevation lead time, there's some things that we can do to reduce the risk. So how do we reduce that risk? So what can we do in preparation prior to spending any money so that we can shorten that capacity expansion lead time? So we call it establishing a capacity expansion full kit. So all the things that we can do prior to spending the money. So what are the things that can happen in this capacity expansion full kit? One, establish all the specifications for the capital expansion, meet with vendors and review the specification and get quotes, select the vendor of choice for the capacity expansion, develop the capital appropriations request with the justification, and create the purchase order with all the specifications. So we can do this all ahead of time. So then when we submit the capital appropriations request for approval, it gets approved. We can immediately send the purchase order to the vendor and start the process. Now it's just the vendor's lead time and the installation lead time to expand that capacity. So that's our session for today. This is a very important concept to maintain stability while sales is going up. It's very difficult to do. Very few companies do it, but if you want to be in the blue ocean and have that competitive advantage and keep that competitive advantage, you need to have this process in place. So thanks for joining.